What if I told you that the vegetables sitting in your fridge right now, the ones you bought specifically because you're trying to protect your kidneys, might actually be the very reason your creatinine keeps going up? That's not a scare tactic. That's what's happening to millions of kidney patients every single day. And today, we're going to talk about exactly which vegetables are behind it, why they're dangerous down to the biological mechanism, and what you should be eating instead. This video could genuinely change the direction of your kidney health. So stay with me all the way through, because the last part is just as important as the first. If this kind of content is something you want more of, practical, science-based information that your doctor doesn't always have time to explain in a 10-minute appointment, hit that subscribe button right now. We put out videos like this regularly, and you don't want to miss them. Here's the situation. Your doctor tells you, eat more vegetables, clean up your diet, take care of yourself. So you do exactly that. You steam your spinach. You toss together a tomato salad. You feel good about your choices. Then the blood results come back, and your creatinine has climbed. Again. And you're sitting there thinking, what am I doing wrong? I'm eating vegetables. I'm being careful. The answer is frustrating but important. In kidney disease, eating vegetables is not automatically the same as eating safely. Some vegetables that are genuinely excellent for a healthy person become genuinely dangerous for someone whose kidneys are already under stress. And there are 4 of them that show up again and again as silent troublemakers. Dr. Jacob Allen sees this pattern every single week in his clinic. Patients who are convinced they're doing everything right. Patients who are tracking their diet, cooking at home, choosing what they think are the healthiest options, and yet their kidney markers keep moving in the wrong direction. The one thing most of them have in common? They're consuming 1 or more of these 4 vegetables in amounts that their kidneys simply cannot handle. Dr. Jacob Allen has spent years working at the intersection of blood circulation, cardiovascular health, and diabetes management. And one of the most under-discussed topics in that space is this: vegetable selection for kidney patients. Not a general eat your greens conversation. A specific data-backed guide to what actually belongs on your plate when your kidneys are compromised. So let's start with the science, because once you understand why certain vegetables become dangerous, the whole picture clicks into place. It comes down to 3 molecules: potassium, oxalate, and phosphorus. In a healthy body, the kidneys act like incredibly efficient filters. They pull these 3 substances out of your blood and send them out through urine. Problem solved, body balanced. But in chronic kidney disease, that filtration system starts losing capacity. These substances don't get cleared the way they should. They stay in your blood. They build up. And that's when things get dangerous. Take potassium first. When potassium accumulates beyond a certain threshold, it causes a condition called hyperkalemia. And here's what makes hyperkalemia so particularly frightening. In its early stages, there are often no symptoms at all. You feel completely fine. You go about your day. Meanwhile, your potassium is creeping upward, quietly disrupting the electrical signals that keep your heart beating in a normal rhythm. When it reaches a critical level, the risk of cardiac arrhythmia and even sudden cardiac arrest becomes very real. Not tomorrow, maybe real. Right now, real. This is not a slow, theoretical risk. It's a documented, clinically observed danger that Dr. Jacob Allen has had to address in patients who had no idea they were approaching that threshold. Then there's oxalate. Oxalate binds to calcium inside the kidney and forms calcium oxalate crystals, which are the building blocks of the most common type of kidney stone. In healthy kidneys, oxalate gets filtered out before it can cause much trouble. In damaged kidneys, it lingers. It accumulates. It crystallizes. And every stone that forms in already compromised kidney tissue makes the overall situation worse. It's damage stacked on top of damage. And phosphorus? Long-term phosphorus accumulation causes progressive damage to blood vessel walls and deepens the structural deterioration of kidney tissue itself. It's a slower burn, but no less serious over time. Keep all 3 of those in mind as we go through the list, because each of these 4 vegetables triggers at least 1, and in some cases 2, of those exact mechanisms. The first vegetable on this list is spinach, and this one genuinely frustrates Dr. Jacob Allen, because for the average healthy person, spinach is a legitimate superfood. It's packed with iron, magnesium, folate, vitamin C. It belongs on the plate of someone with healthy kidney function. But for a kidney patient, spinach is problematic on two separate fronts at the same time, which makes it arguably the most deceptive item on this entire list. Let's start with potassium. According to nutritional data compiled from USDA figures, 1 cup of cooked spinach delivers around 558 milligrams of potassium. To understand why that number matters, consider this. The general daily potassium ceiling for a patient with advanced chronic kidney disease is around 2,000 milligrams. That single cup of spinach, which most people think of as a modest side dish, already uses up more than a quarter of that daily allowance. And that's before you've eaten anything else. Before the tomatoes in your salad. Before the potatoes in your dinner. Before the banana someone told you was healthy. It adds up faster than you'd think. Now the oxalate side. Cooked spinach contains roughly 750 milligrams of oxalate per serving, which puts it among the highest oxalate foods currently known. In someone with healthy kidneys, most of that gets filtered out. In someone with reduced kidney function, that oxalate hangs around, binds with calcium, and begins the crystal formation process. For patients who also have diabetes, this is compounded even further, because diabetic nephropathy specifically reduces the kidney's ability to clear oxalate efficiently. The U.S. National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases has explicitly listed spinach as one of the top foods to limit for anyone with a history of kidney stones. And for diabetic kidney patients, the risk is multiplied. Now, does this mean spinach is permanently off the table? Not necessarily for everyone. If you're in an earlier stage of kidney disease and your potassium levels are holding steady within normal range, an occasional small portion is probably not going to cause an immediate crisis. But there are 2 rules that are non-negotiable. First, always cook it. Steaming spinach and throwing away the water significantly reduces both the potassium and oxalate content. Second, and Dr. Jacob Allen cannot stress this enough, do not make spinach smoothies. This is one of the most common and most dangerous mistakes kidney patients make. A raw spinach smoothie delivers maximum potassium and maximum oxalate all at once, in a form your body absorbs very quickly. It sounds healthy. It is not. The safer swap? Kale, also known as black cabbage. It appears on the National Kidney Foundation's recommended low-potassium vegetable list, and its oxalate content is dramatically lower than spinach. Similar visual appeal on the plate, far less burden on the kidneys. Arugula is another good alternative. Purslane, though, treat that with some caution, as its potassium content sits in a moderate range. The second vegetable is tomatoes, and this one is particularly relevant if you grew up in a Mediterranean household, because tomatoes are basically a cultural institution. Sliced tomatoes at breakfast, a tomato-based sauce at lunch, tomatoes chopped into the dinner salad. That's not unusual. That's just Tuesday. But for a kidney patient, that Tuesday routine is a significant and consistent potassium problem. One medium-sized fresh tomato carries somewhere between 290 and 350 milligrams of potassium. On its own, that might not seem alarming, but think about how tomatoes actually appear in a real day of eating. 2 slices at breakfast, a tomato sauce dish at lunch, 2 or 3 tomatoes in the evening salad. By the time you add it all up, just from tomatoes alone, you've easily consumed 800 to 1,000 milligrams of potassium, and you haven't even accounted for a single other vegetable or fruit yet. And that's just fresh tomatoes. The real danger zone is tomato products. Tomato paste, tomato sauce, canned tomatoes, tomato juice. When you concentrate a tomato, you concentrate everything in it. The potassium doesn't evaporate. It intensifies. 1 tablespoon of tomato paste contains more potassium than a whole fresh tomato, and in many traditional recipes, that paste goes into nearly every cooked dish, every day. On top of the potassium issue, tomato paste is typically high in sodium, which puts additional pressure on the kidneys through a completely separate mechanism. So tomato paste is really a double hit. potassium loading and sodium loading, delivered simultaneously, in a small spoonful that doesn't look remotely dangerous. Dr. Jacob Allen wants to tell you about one of his patients, a 67-year-old man, call him Mr. Hassan. He had type 2 diabetes and stage 3B chronic kidney disease, with an eGFR stabilized around 35. His potassium levels were trending upward at every visit, slowly but consistently. When Dr. Jacob Allen asked about his diet, Mr. Hassan genuinely believed he was doing well. "I eat vegetables, doctor. I eat carefully." His actual daily routine: eggs with tomatoes and peppers for breakfast, a spinach pastry for lunch, and a rice dish cooked with tomatoes for dinner. Every day, without fail. His potassium had reached 5.8 mql, a level that puts a person directly in the territory of cardiac arrhythmia risk. Dr. Jacob Allen restructured his vegetable intake specifically. Tomatoes were reduced significantly. Spinach was removed entirely. Kidney-friendlier alternatives were introduced. 6 weeks later, no medication changes, just those dietary adjustments. His potassium had come down to 5.1. That's what reorganizing healthy vegetable habits can actually do. If you found that story useful, take a second to subscribe. There are more cases like this one that Dr. Jacob Allen shares on this channel, and the patterns that emerge across patients are genuinely eye-opening. Does this mean tomatoes are completely forbidden? In early-stage patients with normal potassium levels, fresh tomatoes in modest amounts are generally manageable, but tomato paste, sauces, and juices need to be treated with real caution, not casual restraint. Boiling fresh tomatoes and discarding the water does help reduce potassium content. As a replacement, red bell pepper is an excellent option. It provides a similar antioxidant profile and comparable visual color in a dish, but half a cup contains only about 88 milligrams of potassium. That's a dramatic reduction for a very similar culinary role. The third vegetable is the potato, possibly the single most universally consumed vegetable in the world. Fried, boiled, baked, mashed, stewed. People eat potatoes constantly, in every form, without thinking much about it. And for most people, that's completely fine. But one medium-sized potato, even without the skin, contains around 610 milligrams of potassium. Leave the skin on, and that number jumps to around 926 milligrams. That's a single potato. That's roughly 30% of a kidney patient's entire daily potassium allowance, in one item, before the rest of the meal even starts. According to dietary guidelines developed by renal nutrition specialists at DaVita, even a small potato carries approximately 700 milligrams of potassium. For someone with diabetes and an eGFR below 30, the kidneys are already operating at significantly reduced capacity. They cannot clear potassium from the blood efficiently. Eating potatoes daily in that context allows potassium to accumulate steadily, and that accumulation can reach dangerous levels faster than most people expect. Dr. Jacob Allen regularly sees this pattern in diabetic kidney patients who have been preparing hearty potato-based dinners as their idea of a wholesome, comforting meal. Now here is something important, because this is where a lot of people accidentally undo their own efforts. Soaking potato slices in water before cooking is a commonly repeated tip, and it does help somewhat. But soaking alone is not enough. The method that actually makes a meaningful difference is this: cut the potato into small cubes or thin slices, boil them in a generous amount of water, and then throw that water away. Done correctly, this process can reduce the potassium content by 50 to 70%. That's significant. But, and this is critical, never use that cooking water in anything else. Don't add it to soup. Don't cook rice in it. Don't let it sneak back into the meal in any form, because all the potassium you just removed is now dissolved in that liquid, waiting to come right back. Also, frying completely cancels out any leaching benefit. Frying doesn't reduce potassium. It concentrates it. So a kidney patient eating fried potatoes is essentially getting the worst possible version of an already risky food. The better alternative here is cauliflower. Boiled cauliflower has dramatically lower potassium than potato, And culinarily, it can do a lot of the same jobs. It mashes, it absorbs sauces, it bulks out dishes. It's not a perfect one-for-one replacement in terms of taste, but it's closer than you'd expect, and the kidney benefit is substantial. The fourth item, and yes, this one surprises people, is avocado. Technically a fruit biologically, but since most of us eat it the way we'd eat a vegetable and it fits into the savory part of meals, it belongs on this list. In recent years, avocado has become the poster child of healthy eating. Avocado toast, guacamole, avocado smoothies. It's full of healthy fats. It doesn't spike blood sugar. It's clean eating. All of that is true for a person without kidney disease. For someone with compromised kidneys, avocado is one of the highest potassium foods you can put on your plate. One medium avocado contains somewhere between 700 and 900 milligrams of potassium. That's more than a potato, in a single fruit that most people consider a health food. The National Kidney Foundation of Hawaii's Nutrition Guide for Chronic Kidney Disease Patients places avocado at the very top of its high potassium foods list. Not near the top, at the very top. And Dr. Jacob Allen sees this constantly in his diabetic patients specifically. They've been told that avocado is safe for blood sugar, which is true, and so they've been eating it regularly, sometimes daily, without realizing that the potassium load is quietly working against their kidney function at the same time. In early-stage kidney patients whose potassium is within a safe range, a very small portion consumed occasionally, once a week at most, is probably not going to cause immediate harm. But for anyone with an eGFR below 30 or already elevated potassium levels, avocado needs to come off the table. The replacement for the healthy fat component is simple: olive oil, kidney-friendly, anti-inflammatory, and genuinely beneficial for cardiovascular health. For a patient managing both diabetes and kidney disease, olive oil is one of the safest and most useful fats available. Now let's zoom out and look at all four of these together, because the pattern is what really matters. Spinach, tomatoes, potatoes, avocado, exceptional foods for healthy individuals, serious risks for kidney patients. And the most dangerous thing about all four of them is the way the harm accumulates. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no immediate warning signal, no pain, no obvious symptom. A little potassium today, a little more tomorrow, a bit of oxalate accumulation over the week. The kidney function quietly declines, the creatinine gradually rises, and when the lab results finally show it, the patient is genuinely confused. How? I was eating so well. That's the insidious part. The damage looks like good intentions. So what should kidney patients actually be building their meals around? Cauliflower, cabbage, red bell pepper, cucumber, cooked carrots, green beans, broccoli, and kale in reasonable portions. These are the vegetables that appear on the National Kidney Foundation's kidney-friendly recommended list. Low potassium, low oxalate, gentle on the filtration system. Make these the foundation. They're not boring, they're not flavorless. They're just not quietly working against you. And when you replace the four risky vegetables with options from this group, the table doesn't look or taste dramatically different, but what's happening inside your body shifts meaningfully. Here's one more subscribe reminder. If you haven't already, hit that button. We cover this kind of nuanced, science-based kidney and metabolic health content regularly, and honestly, this is the kind of information that can make a real difference in someone's trajectory. Now, one genuinely important warning before you finish watching. Everything covered in this video is a general framework based on established clinical and nutritional data. But kidney disease is not a one-size-fits-all condition. Your individual lab values matter enormously. If your potassium is sitting comfortably in the normal range, some of these restrictions may not need to be as strict for you right now. If your potassium is already elevated, some of them may need to be even stricter. The right person to make that call is your doctor or your renal dietitian. After watching this video, go to your next appointment and ask specifically, given my current lab values, how risky are these four vegetables for me? That single question will open a far more targeted and useful conversation than a general nutrition discussion. Let's bring it all together with something practical. Swap spinach for kale or arugula. Swap tomatoes for red bell pepper. Swap potatoes for cauliflower. Swap avocado for olive oil. 4 swaps. The visual impression of your meals stays largely the same. The potassium and oxalate burden on your kidneys drops significantly, and that drop shows up in your results. A slower rate of creatinine increase, a more stable eGFR decline, a meaningfully reduced risk of hyperkalemia. Small adjustments, repeated consistently, produce real clinical differences over time. Dr. Jacob Allen has watched it happen. Share this video with someone in your life who has kidney disease and keeps saying, "I don't understand why my numbers aren't improving. I eat so healthily." Because the answer might be sitting right there on their plate, in a bowl of spinach they've been eating faithfully for years. And drop a comment below answering this. Which one of these 4 vegetables shows up most often at your table? Dr. Jacob Allen genuinely reads those responses. They help shape what this channel covers next. See you in the next video.